Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So I've got a minor repair, some little bit of work I need to do to the Kodiak here. The rear axle on the last trip, our Arkansas trip, whenever we were returning, I got home, I noticed that the grease cap there, also kind of known as a bearing buddy, has actually come loose inside of the wheel hub. Not good. That needs to be taken care of. We don't want dirt and grit getting inside there and getting into the tapered roller bearings. So my plan is to take the wheel off and do some inspection. Probably have to clean all this up and reinstall it. And while I'm at it, this tire right here is the one that was worn from the last bent axle. And I never replaced it because I was just going to run it for a little while. But since we're taking this wheel off, I'm going to go ahead and see if my local tire shop can replace this one tire for me. And I'll show you why I'm going to do that. So let's jump right in here and get started on it, okay? This is what I'm talking about right inside here. Your bearing buddy or grease cap has come off of the actual axle hub there. So we need to get this wheel off of here. That way we can take and see what caused that to come off. Maybe it just wasn't installed correctly whenever we had the axles replaced. This is a press fit. You just bump it on there. So we'll see why it come off, but basically get everything off, get it cleaned up, inspect the wheel hub, put it all back together. And then this is a quick shot of the tire. You can see the baldness there from when we had a bent axle. All right, we'll get in here with this floor jack. See if we can use this to pick up this side of the axle. And I've got a jack stand. I'll see if I can get in there behind it there and let it sit on a jack stand. All right, we got a jack stand right here. It's always best to, anytime you're working on an RV, a car, truck, any kind of vehicle, whenever you're using a floor jack to pick up the weight, always let it rest on a jack stand, not just sitting on the floor jack the whole time. Made an adjustment on the height there. Let's see if that'll work. Right there. All right, we're still up off the, okay. Good, right there. All right, so I'm using a 3/4 inch impact socket, 1/2 inch drive, cordless impact wrench here. This is the one that I keep in the truck whenever we travel. And I have the socket for the axles for the Kodiak. I also have one for the truck wheel too, just in case an emergency you need to change the tire. Okay, see, there's our hub, and there's our axle hub right there, and then our bearing buddy. Looks like it's not round. I may just see about if the local trailer shop might have a replacement for this guy right here. I don't want to set it down because it's all dirty right here. We'll take this in and we'll come back to this. So I'll show you the tire. This is a Hankook Vantra 225/75 R15. This is the tire. We had the whole set replaced whenever we were in Des Moines, Iowa on the last big haul of last year. All right, they've been excellent tires. I haven't had any problems with them blowing out or anything like that. But this right here is why we're going to replace it. You can see the uneven wear of the tire. This was not caused by our current axles. I've had those replaced. We've got heavy duty axles on there now, rated over 5,000 pounds each. They're not bent, but this was from that previous wear of the previous bent axle. That's what I want people to be aware of. So before I go any further, I'm going to go ahead and give my local tire shop a call, give them the tire and the size, see if they can get this in and get this replaced for me. Go ahead and get this rolling before I continue on with the axle hub. All right, quick update. I called around to all of our reputable tire shops in town, and nobody can get this Hankook Vantra tire. I'd like to keep it the same to match, but nobody can get them. They don't seem to be in stock. They said it would be a couple weeks before they could get this one in. So the local tire shop said that they can get Goodyear, and he can actually get a Goodyear Endurance, which is the tires that I ran before this. The Goodyear Endurance tires are a high quality made in USA tire, specifically made for trailers and RVs. So I trust that tire more than the other non-name brands that they sell for this kind of application. So they're going to order, they've got that one tire on order. I'm going to drop this off with them today. They said it'd probably be either this evening or tomorrow when they get the tire and they can get this swapped out. So we're going to do what I don't like to do, have an uneven set of tires on there, but the other three Hankook tires are fine. I mean, they've got some wear, but they're not uneven wear like this. So we'll have one new Goodyear on the on the Kodiak for a little while when we get that replaced. So I'm gonna move on from this and get started on the wheel hub. We're just using some of this degreaser to try to get some of the grease out of the way here. So there's our grease fitting. Yeah, this is the cage that goes around the nut that keeps it captured. So what I want to do is go ahead and remove this. I want to go ahead and take that off, take all this off. That way we can clean the bearings. I want to make sure that it's clean, that no dirt, sand, or grit got in there during the last trip and is causing damage inside here. All right, there's our cage there. Keeps the nut from trying to back off. Go with the 15-inch crescent, that'll fit it there. There's the axle nuts. And washer. There goes one bearing. All right. Now you can see our brake drum, our brake shoes right there. Our other bearing is going to be right there. Grease seal. So all this right here is what I'm going to clean this hub out right there. We'll clean the axle off real good, get all this old grease, make sure there's no dirt in there, and put it all back together. Before we move inside, we'll go ahead and finish getting the axle stub here cleaned off. That's part of the brake system right there. I don't want to disturb any of that. We'll use some of our used degreaser here to kind of get some of the bulk of the grease out of these parts here with a rag. And then I'm going to go to the parts washer and actually wash these out real good, but you just don't want to fill it up full of thick grease like that. But I may see about replacing this cap. It looks like it's been deformed a little bit, so we may just see about replacing it. All right, we'll go to the parts washer and finish cleaning these off. All right, we're at our parts washer. We're gonna go ahead and give everything a good bath, including our bearings. Now, the actual brake hub right here, the brake drum, you still have your inner race and your seal right there. I'm just gonna wash this out right here in the parts washer and dry it really good. I'm not gonna take that out because I don't wanna damage the seal or the bearing. I don't wanna replace the bearing because if I replace that, I'd rather replace the bearing race as well. So I'm just gonna wash that out just as it is. All right, there's our cap. We got the little rubber boot that goes on there as well. There's our outer bearing. Got our wheel hub, or the bearing hub. Bearing hub clean. All right, going in there with our actual brake drum and inner bearing. I'm just going to spend a little time with this guy, getting it all washed and cleaned out as best I can. And after we get it all clean, we'll let her dry. Probably use some of that heavy-duty degreaser and spray in there because it dries really quick. It'll wash away any more moisture that's left in there, and everything will dry very quickly. Just washing all that brake dust out of there too. All right, we have our hub nice and clean. We'll finish blowing that out, get it all dry. In case you're wondering what parts washer I'm using, I am using the CRC Smart Washer here. Really good unit. It's an aqueous-based solution, and it isn't hazard, and it works great. I use this nearly every day here in the shop. A little update of where we're at. Just got back from the local trailer supply house, and I picked up some parts here. So this was the main culprit right here. This was what caused us to have to go into this. The grease cap itself had fallen off, and you can see that it's bent in on one side. And to me, that means that this isn't going to have the proper press fit. I think it's gotten weak right there. You could probably bend this back, shape this, and reuse it, especially if you were in a pinch and you're on the road and you just need to get going with it. But since the trailer shop has these things and they're not expensive at all, I just went ahead and replaced them. So I just bought a complete set of 4 with the new little rubber boots that go on there, the little caps. We also, while I was down there, decided to go ahead and pick up an inner bearing, outer bearing, and then the seal. I'm gonna have these, I'm gonna put these in a little bag and wrap them up. I'm gonna have this as a spare emergency set that I'm gonna put in the tool bag that I keep on the Kodiak all the time with my extra parts and tools. Hopefully I'm never going to need them on the road, but just in case, that's all this. This is really cheap insurance. These do not cost a lot. You know, these aren't even the really high quality bearings. Usually whenever you find these bearings, they're always imported, and they're not a super high quality like a Timken bearing would be. But it's cheap insurance to have these, so I just went ahead and got a set. I'll bag them up, keep them on board. And with that, we've got everything clean here. So I went ahead and picked up another tube of some new red lithium grease, just some high quality stuff. This is what we'll use. I'm gonna get an acid brush. I'm gonna get in there and I'm gonna pack a little bit with an acid brush down inside the inner bearing. And then we'll go back out there and start reassembling this. The grease fitting is on the end of the axle stub, and that's where you pump the grease, and it has a cross hole that actually puts the grease right there at your inner bearing, and it'll come through here all the way through the center of the hub and then pack the inner bearing and all the way out this way. So I'll show you all that as we get back into it there. We also got the tire dropped off at the tire shop, and it'll either be this afternoon or in the morning whenever that tire is replaced. When we go to bump the grease cap in there, we're gonna use this piece of tubing right there. This is something I had on the shelf. I just went ahead and faced it off, broke the edges, and it fits that perfectly. So we'll use that and a hammer to tap that into the hub whenever we go to reinstall it, like this right here. Slide that down over that. Use our hammer to make sure that we drive that in there without distorting the shape of the grease cap there. Just going to take some of our grease here. That stuff is super tacky. I'm going to try to get a little bit of this down inside the inner bearing there with a acid brush. So you got your grease fitting here on the end of the axle stub. This is your cross hole in there, so this is where your grease is going to go. I'm going to go ahead and purge it with what was already in there. Matter of fact, let me stick that in there to kind of catch it. All right, that should be new grease coming out right there. All right, we're going to go back on with our hub there. I've got a little bit of grease rubbed on the grease seal there as well as on the seal journal. So let's see if we can get this back together. Just like that. All right, and now down here in a towel, I've got the outer race, or outer bearing, I mean. I went ahead and pre-packed it a little bit. That's going on next. Okay. And then we have our washer. It's going to go on there. And we'll go ahead and run our nut on there. We can get this finger tight. Just like that right there. Now the sound you hear is not the bearings, that's actually the brake shoes rubbing the drum. I'm going to get the wrench. Typically what you want to do is just snug these just very gently, and then once you actually snug them up, back them off about 1/8 of a turn or so. All right, starting getting some resistance there. Should be pretty good right about there. We got our nut retainer here. It's just going to snap on. Just like that. It catches this flat on the axle stub and prevents the nut from backing out right there. So now we're going to go ahead and pump our grease in there until we start getting grease out all around this, and I'll go ahead and rotate it while we fill it up. Fill up that inner cavity. Starting to see it come back right there. You can see the grease coming out. I'm going to go ahead and wipe that off, and we'll go ahead and bump on our cap and then finish filling it up a little bit more. All right, we got our grease cap that's going to go on. Got my little tool that I made to help drive it in there nice and square. There it is. And that way you can make sure that it's seated nicely. And it looks like it's driven in there square all the way around now. I'm going to go ahead and put a little more grease in here. All right, I think that's going to be good right about there. Go ahead and wipe that little bit of grease off right there. Wipe this grease off here. All right, and the last step is we got our little grease cap right here. Put that guy on there. That's going to protect the grease from moisture, dirt, grit, all that stuff. So this guy is ready to go. All we need now is our wheel and our tire back from the tire shop. So since we're out here working on the axle hubs, I'm going to go around to the other 3 wheels and go ahead and pump a little bit more grease in there, just to give me a little more peace of mind that the other ones are adequately greased at the same time. I'm just gonna, since I can't rotate it, I'm just gonna pump it until I see some grease coming out. There it is. All right, I saw the grease trying to come out the end right there, so that's good. And then we'll reinstall our little grease cap, just like that. All right, and we'll do the other, I'll do the other side off camera, but we're gonna do the same thing there, just pump some extra grease in there. All right, guys, well, it is the next day. I've been waiting on the tire shop to get our tire in, and unfortunately, they were not able to get my Goodyear Endurance tire in, which is what they said that they were gonna be getting. And couldn't get the matching Hankook like we've got on there. So we went with the next best thing that I could do to get a tire on there to get ready for our trip. This is my fault that I waited until the week that we were leaving to go on our trip. If I would have done this sooner, they could have ordered a tire, but it would have taken a week or 2 for it to get in. So I'll show you what we got. So instead, we're going with the Hercules brand of tire. This is the ST, just like the other one. So it's rated for trailers. It's called the Power ST2, same size and everything. What I will say about the Hercules is that I believe they do have a good reputation for their tires. These are the tires that I run on my equipment trailer, except they're much bigger and they are the 14 ply. But this one is a 10 ply and it should match what we have on there. So since I couldn't get what we wanted within the amount of time that I had to get one in, this is what we're going to run with. And I think this is a better choice than some of the other tires that are out there that people are putting on trailers. So this is what we're going to run. Oh, almost forgot the hubcap here. Let's get that in there first. And get that on. All right. There we go. Now, I'm no professional mechanic by no means, but what I would advise when you're installing the lug nuts, start them by hand. Sometimes it takes a little jostling around to get it to start. Like that. Get one centered up. And the reason why I say start them by hand is just because of the work that I'm into, machining. I know what it's like to cross thread something and have to fix it. You don't want to cross thread your lug nuts. All that's doing is causing another problem. So just start them by hand, just like that. Don't try to spin them up with an impact to get them started on there. And that's just my opinion. Other people may do something different. All right, there we go. All right, well, there we go. Job is completed. You know, that concludes our hub disassembly, cleaning, inspecting, and then reassembly on the axle, and of course reinstalling our new tire. Really hate that that's one new tire and one different than the others, but you know, that's the choice that I had to make to be able to go on to this next trip. I plan on down the road correcting this, and maybe we'll have a full new set of tires on there, but we'll see. I'm hoping that we have good luck with the Hercules tire. But I did want to add that it's a good thing for anybody that owns a trailer to annually do this to your hubs, is to take the hubs off, inspect them, clean them, pack them with new grease, put them back on there. You certainly shouldn't go more than a year on doing this. And if you travel frequently, if you put a lot of miles on, you may even consider doing it more than that, maybe twice a year. But it is a good idea to check them annually and repack them, clean them, repack them, put some fresh grease in there, make sure everything's good, and try to avoid any kind of potential damage or repairs on the road that you might have to get into. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I hope that it was helpful to some of you guys out there, and I always enjoy sharing any of the little repairs and maintenance issues that I get into with our Kodiak travel trailer. All right, we will see you on the next video.